I'm Ryan Kelly, and on this episode of the Motorcoach Channel, we're here with Glenn Every. He is the president and a director of BUS4NYC Coalition, Inc., which is a New York City-based advocacy group of private bus company owners and related businesses and associations who are dedicated to raising the bus industry's profile through sustained education and public awareness campaigns and promoting the growth and safety of the private bus industry in the NYC area. Glenn is also the president of TTI, which is Taunton Transit, Inc., a motor coach and school bus transportation company located in the Mid-Hudson Valley region of New York State, where he has worked since 1999. Prior to becoming an operator in the transportation industry, he was a corporate and business attorney in New York and Washington, D.C. Mr. Every serves on the board of the United Motor Coach Association and is vice chair of its Legal and Regulatory Committee. He's also a director of the Bus Association of New York and was recently appointed to the NYC Bar Association Transportation Law Committee. Thanks, Glenn, for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the motor coach industry.
Let's talk about BUS4NYC. You guys formed in March of 2019. So what were some of the reasons why you formed BUS4NYC?
Well, we had, for anyone who's, sent the bus into New York City, it can sometimes be a very hostile environment. We felt that there was a real rising anti-bus sentiment, really, I think, due to a lack of, education on the benefits of the benefits of what motor coaches brought into the city as far as economics, as far as mitigating congestion, things like that. So a group of operators got together, formed a coalition, really to have one voice in dealing with government officials, law enforcement officials, and really the general public out there. Again, to educate about what the benefits were for motor coaches coming in. So that's really the genesis of how we got started. Also, at that point in time, congestion pricing was at the forefront, and we were, as a group of operators, were concerned that we may be overlooked in the whole process. So we wanted to have a voice in that as well.
Now that's been moving through. Where are we with that topic?
The powers that be just accepted the environmental assessment. So we're in the review period for the final environmental assessment. Just not to get too far into the weeds, but the other alternative was a full environmental impact statement. But the people in Washington came up with a decision that was not necessary, that an environmental assessment was sufficient to review the program. So that came out on May 12th, I believe, and the review period expires on June 12th. And after that, John O'Lieber from the MTA has said that he is going to start moving forward with the infrastructure to, toll vehicles going into the central business district in New York.
So congestion pricing means that during peak times, people going in and out of the city are going to have to pay tolls. So that includes motor coaches.
Yes and no. It's more than peak times. I think the highest pricing will be during peak times, but I believe there will be tolling at any time someone goes into the central business district, which is the island of Manhattan below 60th Street, roughly. So anyone going into there would be subject to the tolling scheme. It has not yet to be determined what the motor coach industry, particularly private motor coaches, will have to pay for that. We have certainly lobbied to be treated the same as transit and public buses, like in London and Singapore. That's how the situation is handled there, and we feel that we should be on par with them. Or why should our passengers have to pay more just because they're riding on a privately held bus?
So so basically right now the MTA, which we know it needs billions and billions of dollars to clean up the subway infrastructure needs to be rebuilt. It's just it's not a profit making industry, so they have come up with a plan to really just tax people coming in and out of the city to raise funding to cover public transit in the New York City area.
That's primarily what the funding will be for, is for the MTA and their budget needs. This is also an area that we at BUS4NYC have have tried to be active in. We also want to have see some kind of parity, see some kind of benefit to the privately held bus companies in the way of infrastructure changes that take place under the program. So we feel that we're providing the same service, we're moving the same general public, and we should benefit in some way from this as far as infrastructure goes. For example, let's take dedicated bus lanes in the city. We feel that private buses should have just as much equal access as transit buses.
And that makes complete sense because from all the states that come into New York, you've got like Transbridge is coming in from Pennsylvania, Academy, Best Bus. I mean, there's a bunch of them. A lot of them are doing daily commuter runs, bringing people in to work.
Hampton Jitney. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so they're basically doing the same thing as transit, and should really have access to the same rules and guidelines and not have to pay a toll if they're actually reducing congestion by bringing group travel into the city. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and that is a main thrust of what we are trying to accomplish at BUS4NYC.
And when we look at the science of it right now, this clean diesel technology in these buses is still the best from what we are right now. So when you take 55 people off the road, you put them in a bus that has clean diesel technology, you're removing all that congestion in the city, and you're moving people in and out really this date and time in 2023 with the most efficient, environmentally friendly way of doing things, with private sector companies that are reinvesting in the New York community as taxpayers, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. If you compare motor coaches to, other modes of travel, motor coaches are far more efficient on a passenger mile per gallon. They're more efficient than rail, airlines, and certainly single occupant, cars.
And then if you look at sometimes I think that a government is trying to do things, but they don't understand the economic impact that motor coaches bring to the city on a daily basis. I mean, if we look at this data provided by the ABA Foundation, we're looking, $9.5 billion of economic impact every year. We're looking at 70,000 jobs and almost $4 billion in wages that are a direct impact of buses coming in and out of the city every day.
Yeah, I've seen some of those statistics from the ABA, and just looking at it from a practical point of view, I know when we take a charter bus of, let's say, a charter group of senior citizens in for a Broadway show. That brings a busload of revenue in there. Those people, they're going to get out. They're going to have dinner someplace. They're going to walk around, probably buy at least a souvenir, something like that, as well as see the play. And that is a nice little piece of revenue that every single bus is bringing into the city. And that's on the charter side. That's not the commuter side. And if you look on the commuter side, that's it's just an essential service that's being provided.
And I think when you look at the commuter side, and I don't see the data here, I don't think it's been, analyzed this way. let's think about the discretionary income that stays in the passenger's pocket because they're not having to pay parking every day and fuel, right? So if I'm riding in from Southampton every day on Hampton Jitney, I'm saving a fortune in travel costs going back and forth the city that I pass along in the local community as I go out as a consumer and spend this money. Also, I don't think that people understand that, we're moving, some very, all these people are generating revenue when they go in the city, right? So they're going in the city to work. So they're getting a wage. An efficient wage in an environmentally friendly manner that brings more disposable income at the end of the day. I mean, so if you look at it from the consumer side, or I mean that the commuter side, there's a lot of economic benefits there too.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
So what do we need to do? We have BUS4NYC Coalition. We know we have some issues we need to address. We know we're pretty far along in the process, but there's thousands of buses, especially summertime now. How can people who are maybe not directly related, who are in, or say, bus company in Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, et cetera, how do they get involved to help you? Because they're still, bringing thousands of buses into the city every year from all over the country. How do they help you, Glenn?
Well, I think being aware of what we're doing is a big help, and giving us support. We have, Ryan, as everyone else in this industry, we were hit pretty hard by COVID. And New York City in particular was very locked down. But we managed to, make ourselves be heard wherever and whenever we could to keep the issues, alive and addressed. So I think the best way people can be aware is to be aware, or help us, is to be aware of what we're doing. And we will be coming out in the not so distant future with some seminars and other events that I think people will like to participate in. For instance, we have coming up in the end of June, we're doing a joint seminar with the New York City Bar Association that's entitled "Buses in the City: The Future of the Motorcoach Industry." I'll be one of the moderators there, and I'm going to be moderating a panel of experts, and we're going to be talking about the curb of the future. There is nothing. The real estate in New York City, some of the most precious parts of real estate in New York City are along the curbside. You've got all kinds of people vying for those spaces at different times, trucks, other delivery vehicles, bicycles, you name it. And then, a motor coach has to come in and maybe discharge some passengers. So there's a lot of attention needs to be paid attention to how exactly that's going to all work.
And I guess we also need to understand that this is basically could go elsewhere. So if New York takes the model, then LA's next, and then Atlanta, and then Chicago. So this could spread in other places throughout the country.
Absolutely, I have been contacted by people in Chicago. I think it's coming there. It's in other parts, other countries in the world, Singapore, London, Scandinavia. So yeah, it's coming. I think coming to a city near you.
Well, we appreciate you volunteering to spearhead this thing with a bunch of other concerned bus operators in the area. We understand the motorcoach industry creates a lot of economic impact and jobs in New York City and the surrounding communities. And we also understand that the private motorcoach commuter services around the area bring thousands of people into the city every day, and do help mitigate congestion, and also reinvest in the economy as taxpayers, which is one thing that transit doesn't do. So, Glenn, we appreciate your efforts. If people wanted to reach out and contact you to get involved or send a letter or provide support, how would they do that?
Go to our website. It is the number 4nyc.org, and there'll be a way to contact us through that.
Once again, Glenn, thanks for your efforts. We're here with Glenn Every. He is the president and director of BUS4 for NYC Coalition Inc. And we appreciate everything you're doing for the bus industry.
Thank you very much, Ryan.